You might say that reality itself therefore stands as the most absolute evidence against there being an eternal, omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, perfect creator. So let's get that out of the way from the beginning. But let's give you that assumption. Let's assume that for some reason this perfect creator did create reality, that it changed its state and it didn't negate its own definition as perfect. Let's assume that. And it created entities that are intelligent and self-aware and that have an eternal component, the soul. Why would it then create a system whereby the vast majority of those eternal components are going to be redundant? In fact, all of those eternal components, not the vast majority, all of those eternal components are going to be rendered redundant. They have no meaning, because they're going to be condemned one way or the other to eternal this or eternal that, unchanging this or unchanging that, bliss or suffering, doesn't matter which. Both are still utterly redundant because those eternal components are not being put to any use. Their existences haven't really mattered very much, because all they're going to do is sustain in this state of existence for existence's sake, eternity for eternity's sake. Now, there are eschatologies out there that actually are slightly more advanced than this. The Buddhist mythology has a hell. Most people don't know it, but it does. It has various different levels of hell. It's not called hell. I can't remember what it's called at the moment. But the hell of Buddhism is not something that you're condemned to eternally or as a result of judgment. It's a state of being. It's a level of being that you're supposed to go to if you don't fulfill certain requirements in whatever life preceded it, whatever incarnation preceded it. The difference between it and the standard fundamentalist Christian notion of hell is that it's not a permanent thing, it's not an eternal state, it's something you have the opportunity to change. You have the opportunity, it presents a learning opportunity and the possibility for self-transcendence and advancement out of that state of being and into something else. That would be infinitely better. It would be an infinitely more productive system, rather than having these very basic absolutes. Eternal this or eternal that. With this very clear divide. If you don't do this, you go here. If you don't do that, you go here. It would be much better to have a shifting spectrum, where people have or these eternal components have the opportunity to realise whatever errors they committed, to consider them, and to perhaps transcend their original state. Then you would have a state of constant evolution, if you like, of change and of progression and of self-transcendence towards whatever. That I can sort of get behind as a philosophy. It's not something I would literally believe in, but I can definitely get behind it as a philosophy, much more so than this absolute blah blah, eternal this or eternal that. It's ironic because it's something that people say all the time, particularly on YouTube. It's sort of a rote argument of the fundamentalist that atheism means that life is meaningless, effectively, and you can do as you wish. Which is ironic, because if you actually stop to consider it, the notion of eternal bliss or eternal punishment, as advertised by fundamentalist Christians, itself is a redundant system. It renders existence and reality redundant. It renders humanity redundant. Why does it exist if that's the ultimate fate? And it also means that the eternal components of humanity, the soul, has no purpose at all. It has no function other than to subsist in one ultimate state or another, which does not allow for progression or for change or for transcendence or anything. It's just redundant and impotent. Whereas the vast majority of the atheists I've heard speaking on the issue, certainly not all, I don't presume to speak on their behalf, this is simply what I've heard from the videos and what I've seen on YouTube, simply don't presume to know if there is a higher purpose, because there's no indication thus far that there is. which I think is absolutely legitimate. And I also don't think that there has to be some overarching purpose for humanity to one's individual existence, one's ephemeral existence, to have significance and meaning. It has significance by the fact that it is. It's significant to you as a consciousness that automatically seeks to sustain itself and to experience and to transcend itself. And I do apologise if I'm coming across as a little aggressive in this video, but I do dislike this threat and promise dynamic. I particularly dislike the threat angle, the threat of eternal punishment. It's not even the threat that the thug would give, you know, do this or I'll beat you, do this or I'll kick you in the face. It's not even that, it's worse than that. It's not even the threat of murder, it's worse than the threat of murder. It's the threat of eternal agony after you're dead for thinking the wrong thing, or for thinking outside of a particular mindset, and I find that utterly abhorrent. I particularly find it abhorrent because you seem to be advertising this as if it's absolute Christianity, and it's not. It most certainly isn't, because I am friends with a great many Christians who don't believe as you believe, who certainly don't condemn me for not believing as they believe. So please, if you're going to contact me again, and this goes for anyone, to be quite honest, please, please, please take the time to at least compose what you're writing, and to provide me with a clear idea of what you're trying to sell. And please don't threaten. Please don't send me PM saying that if you don't believe this you're going here, or if you do believe this you'll go here, because it doesn't mean anything to me. What you're going to have to do is demonstrate to me via the lucidity and the veracity of your argument, with examples, why the ideology is beneficial, how your particular manifestation of belief or faith helps you to be a better person, and how it would definitely help me. And you would also have to demonstrate this as well. I mean, I do see a lot of the fundamentalists on YouTube and in the wider world, in wider media, saying that people who don't believe as they believe are immoral, yet they behave in the most repugnant ways imaginable. If you want to convince me, particularly on a moral basis, then lead by example. Show me how much a better person you are than the non-believers, than the pagans, than people who don't believe as you believe. Show me how good you are as a human being. Then you might go some way to swaying me.